All right, and welcome to Station 3. This takes us back to August. Transformations on a grid. This is like one of the first things that we learned this year. It seems like forever ago, but at the same time, it was just yesterday. So to do transformations on a coordinate grid, unfortunately, these rules are not going to be given to you like they are in that handy-dandy poster that we have on the side of the room. So if you want to look at it, you can to reference it. But you pretty much need to know these rules by heart when you take the test. So these are going to be some of the formulas that you've got to memorize. So remember, there are transformations. There's 4 types of transformations. Translation is a slide, reflection, rotation, and dilation. The first thing we're going to do is graph the image after the transformation. So the steps to do this, I would say step 1 is to figure out your rule. Step 2 is to find the coordinates. And then finally for step 3, you can graph. So I'll show you this. So the first thing I'm going to do is a 90 counterclockwise. Well, counterclockwise is that way. And so what that indicates to me is that I'm going to be flip-flopping, because remember, flip-flops in 90 degrees. So x, y, I'm going to flip-flop my coordinates, and the y is going to go opposite. So now that I know my rule, that's step 1. Step 2 is to figure out my coordinates. So I'm going to start with k. I'm going to start with j. So j is at 4, -1. So I'm going to flip-flop them, -1, 4, and then the y, or the first one's going to become opposite. This one here. And then I'm going to graph it. So j prime is at 1, 4. All right, let's look at k. K is at 3, -1. So they're going to flip-flop, and this is going to become positive. So k prime is right here. L is at 0, -5. They're going to flip-flop, and this one becomes positive because it's a counterclockwise turn, which puts me here. And then lastly, I'm going to do I. So I is currently at 4, -4. So the first thing I'm going to do is flip-flop them, and that becomes positive. So it's at 4, 4. So it's here, and then you just connect the dots. And it should look like the same exact figure, except it's just been turned 90 degrees. Now don't forget, on the test, you can actually take your scrap paper and you can trace it. Don't forget to trace the axis as well as the shape, and then you can turn 90 degrees, which would be 1 turn up, and you'll see that that's exactly how the figure looks. Okay, don't forget a 90 clockwise. The clockwise goes in this direction, so you're going to flip-flop and change the x. And a 180, you don't flip-flop in 180 degrees, you just change the sign of both the x and the y. All right, let's go down to number 5. That's a little bit different of a question. So for number 5, it's saying, I want to take this shape and now rotate it 180 degrees. You don't have to graph this one. All they want are the vertices, which are the coordinates. So again, step 1 is going to be to find my rule, which is -x, -y. And then start with my coordinates. I'll start with B. B is at 0, -3. And it's going to go to 0, 3. That's prime. C is at 2, 2. So it's going to go to -2, -2. And that's prime. D is at 5, -1. D prime is at -5, +1. So you'll notice you're just changing the coordinates. E is at 3, -4. So it's going to go to -3, +4. graph it, and you should see that it's 180-degree rotation. Or, once again, you can take your graph paper, or even if you don't have graph paper, your work paper, draw the X in the middle, and actually rotate it 180 degrees. So what you would do is you would turn it once and then twice. It should be like all right. Number 9, you have to work backwards. Okay. So if you're going to work backwards, what I suggest you do is start with, do this. Start with picking 2 coordinates. And I wouldn't pick 2 coordinates that fall on the axis. So I wouldn't pick W, and I wouldn't pick X, right? Because they fall on the axis. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick, I don't know, what did I pick on the paper? I picked Y. So I'll pick this coordinate here and this coordinate here. And I'm going to compare them. And when I compare them, hopefully the rule will pop out at me, right? So I'm going to first write the coordinate for Y, which is at 1, 2, 3, 3, negative 2. And then Y prime, I notice, is at negative 2, negative 3. All right. Now what I notice happened here is I notice they flip-flopped, right? So I know there's going to be a 90-degree something because they flip-flop. Now if you notice the X stayed the same, and this one stayed the same, and this one changed. So because the second one changed, it's going to be clockwise. So 90 degrees clockwise, or you write that as Y comma negative X. And again, if you need extra help, you can look up transformations on the computer. You can look at the poster that's on the side of the room. You can ask questions. There's plenty extra practice on iExcel as well. Good luck.